Hey there, Evan Nathaniel Grimm. I'm going to walk you through February 2023 for all 12 zodiac signs. This includes the Leo full moon, the Pisces new moon, and I'm going to cover other planetary shifts. Before I begin, if you want a reading from me, you can get one through the link below. I talk about you and only you for an hour. I do birth chart readings, transit readings, relationship readings, and solar returns. Also, I'm hosting astrology courses right now. You can look into those through the link below as well. And I'm hosting a retreat in Croatia this September, which is really exciting. So if you want to join me for a week and get custom astrology workshops and also a complimentary birth chart reading at the retreat, but of course, also seeing the Mediterranean and other sites, also check that out down below. So what's going on in February? Just a really quick highlight, and then I'm going to share my screen and show the impact for each rising sign. So in February, well, key highlights, all the planets are direct. So Uranus was the last planet to be retrograde, but it's stationed direct on January 22nd. So all of February, we do have some type of momentum here. And with Uranus being that last planet to go direct, I do think there's sort of this collective awakening going on. There are a lot of sudden changes to prepare for. And we are still in a holding pattern, though, because we're on the cusp of a new era. What era is that? Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto will enter Aquarius at the end of March. So we're feeling this sort of kind of waiting for that change to manifest. So my advice is generally to prepare for Pluto in Aquarius, which is going to empower our Uranian impulse for liberation, autonomy, and innovation. We're actually seeing the proliferation of many new technologies and AI, which is starting to really disassemble the way that we used to do things, the way that we used to learn, the way that we used to do homework, the way that we used to create art. These are all things that are undergoing a lot of shifts. And so there will probably be one group that decides to resist these innovations and another group who decides to embrace them fully. But if you want to get a deep dive into Pluto and Aquarius, I have a YouTube video about that. And it's under it's one of my recent live videos. So you want to look into that. But essentially what we're entering into is this age where algorithms will be able to connect the right people, the right message at the right time. So anybody watching this video, you will be able to reach in at least 10,000 people in the world any given moment with a relevant message for those people, if not more people. So this is going to be the end of fame. This is going to be the end of influencers. And if you want the full, again, scoop on that, check out that video. But otherwise, in February, we have Mercury in Capricorn for the first 11 days, and then it moves into Aquarius February 11th through 28th. We have Venus in Pisces from February 1st to 19th, and in Aries from February 19th to 28th. And again, I'm only showing the ingresses and the stations in the month of February. That doesn't mean that these planets are not in that same sign before February. So again, Mercury's already been in Capricorn in January, but it will be in Cap February 1 through 11. Anyway, Sun will be in Aquarius February 1 to 18, and then in Pisces from the 18th to the 28th. Now, other planets which are not ingressing into new signs, but are, obviously we have to be mindful of them, as Mars will be in Gemini still throughout the month. Jupiter will be in Aries. Saturn will remain in Aquarius at those final degrees in that final decan. Uranus will be in Taurus, Neptune in Pisces, and of course, Pluto in Capricorn, but just barely. And the lunar cycles are the Leo full moon February 5th and the Pisces new moon on February 19th. So let's get into it, though. Let's start to break down what's coming in February for each rising sign. So in order to do that, I'm going to share my screen. So this should give you a nice visual. And as I go, when I do these forecasts, I'm assuming somewhat of a whole sign system, but of course, Placidus, I tend to use Placidus in one-on-one sessions, but for the sake of a forecast, we're really looking, generally speaking, at a whole sign house placement. But of course, if you use Placidus, then this may sort of step into some other houses, but you'll find that these themes generally resonates because, whether it's your sun or your moon or your rising, there are ways to create derivative charts. And, for example, the opening trine has the nature of the fifth house, the closing trine has the nature of the ninth house, the opposition has the nature of the seventh house, the opening inconjunct has the nature of the sixth house, the closing inconjunct, the eighth house, and so on and so on. But anyways, the point is you want to prioritize your rising sign in this forecast and then look to your sun and moon as well to see if that resonates, because it most likely will, but on a specific area of life. So the sun is going to affect your self-expression, and your moon is more your internal world and your home and all of these things. So sorry, just had to take care of a couple different screens that I'm managing. So now we're ready to go. So February, what is coming? I'm setting February 14th as just the midpoint of the month, but we're going to cover both lunar cycles. So February 14th for Aries rising, and sorry, for the entire month of February, what's going on for Aries rising? So in February, Aries will have the Leo full moon. So the Leo full moon will be on February 5th. And again, keep in mind that all planets will be direct at this time. So that is very good for positive momentum. But what is going on for Aries on that Leo full moon? So that Leo full moon is going to be in your 5th house. And what's interesting is that Uranus is going to be forming a T-square to that sun and moon. And that's really activating your 2nd house, 5th house, and 11th house all at the same time. So the Leo full moon with the Uranus T-square is an electrifying moment. And Uranus is really coming in to shake up, your life in a really exciting way, actually, which allows you to step into your creativity and your self-expression with a Leo full moon. And that Leo full moon illuminates your 5th house of creativity and of your inner joy. So for Aries risings, Aries, and again, Aries sun and moon even, that Leo full moon is really giving you some kind of life force and allowing you to integrate that into a group in the 11th house where your sun is at that time, or the sun is at that time. And with Uranus kind of at the midpoint in the 2nd house, this actually feels like a sort of reinvention of your creative style, or even a way in which you're finding out, you're kind of cracking the code there of how to monetize something creatively, but also how to network with new communities. So it just feels like there's something fresh there. So for Aries, in the beginning of February, you want to say yes to social gatherings, social outings. You want to allow sociability to come into your life. And that, I mean, this is something that will attract positive luck for you because you have Jupiter and Aries in your 1st house right now. So I do think that overall for Aries, like that early February timeframe, it just looks very creative and communal. And for the social media creators, it just feels like there's a way in which you can come up with like a new content format and maybe a new way to work with brands or something like that. Now, also, we do have Venus in Pisces by that point, and Venus in Pisces will be in your 12th house. So a lot of relationships, though, and your sense of aesthetics may come from a very spiritual territory. So maybe you have some of these new friendships are inspiring you to be creative, inspiring you to be spiritual, or just the things that you're making and broadcasting to the world are coming from that very inspired place. Venus is exalted in Pisces, and in your 12th house, you may be, again, just conjuring new aesthetics. It just feels very artistic and creative. But, whenever Venus is in the 12th, there may be a little bit of confusion in how you relate to people right now. So avoid deception at all costs. But otherwise, I think it looks good. Let's go towards the Pisces new moon, February 19th. So the Pisces new moon, February 19th for Aries risings, that's occupying, that is occupying your 12th house. So the new moon is in the 12th there is actually the birth of something compassionate. It's also the release of something, meaning the release of an emotion or the release of something that was holding you back. So I think you got to let those walls come down if you're an Aries rising in late February on that Pisces new moon, which hopefully you've already done with Uranus. So I like the dovetail between the Leo full moon, February 5th, the Pisces new moon, February 19th. It's like Uranus is kind of shaking things up, disassembling things. And then the Pisces new moon is like, okay, there's a new inspirational journey I'm on where it's like, I can shed a couple tears. I can let those walls come down. And what's interesting is there's a Venus-Neptune conjunction, which you can kind of already see the beginnings of on February 14th there, which is, I guess, Valentine's Day there. So that conjunction between Venus and Neptune, it actually feels very compassionate, again, and very sacrificial and devotional. So Aries in that 12th house, I don't know if it's actually about a person that you're devoting something to, but I kind of feel like it's probably very etheric and collective. So it's almost like I'm surrendering to a higher power, or I'm allowing my feminine energy. With my feminine energy, I'm tapping into that and allowing the source energy to come in. And then I go out there and emanate that. So it's quite profound in that way. We also have Mars trining Mercury, which is nice, I think, in empowering and allowing us to be more effective in our communication. What's also interesting, though, is that Uranus, by that point will be in a square to Mercury by the new moon. And the Uranus square Mercury is like sudden flashes of insight, which Uranus was very much a feature of that Leo full moon. So maybe you're just carrying that stuff onward of like, okay, I've shaken up my associations, I've shaken up my creativity, my creative style. And now in late February, I'm able to kind of incorporate these new epiphanies and quantum leaps in awareness into communities with Mercury going into your 11th. So I think like throughout February, this is a very social time for you. And you with Uranus could even like digitize or innovate or, bring a creative style onto a new platform. So it just feels like you want to reach people. You want to reach communities at this time through technology. Let's go into Taurus. Taurus is February. Well, being a fixed sign, there's a lot of action for you going on. So, let's start with the Leo full moon. So the Leo full moon is forming a T-square. So Uranus is in a T-square to the sun and moon on that Leo full moon, February 5th. And that full moon's in your 4th house. So the Leo full moon in the 4th house is highlighting that axis of your midheaven and your IC. So it's basically showing you where you are either in balance or out of balance between your work life and your home life. The full moon is sometimes a release and you're kind of seeing something through. So for some Taurus risings and Tauruses in general, even the Leo full moon could be like when you are moving homes or you are having a heightened emotional conversation with a family member, or you feel like, you want your home to be a place of creativity with Leo. But with the sun and then Uranus caught in the middle, the sun on the 10th is begging you to really think about, expressing yourself publicly. So, Aquarius season is always a time for Tauruses to really make the most and capitalize on your sun up in the 10th house. And, again, with a Placidus system, some Tauruses, you might have that sun in the 11th house. But generally speaking, a Taurus would have the sun in Aquarius towards their 10th house. So Tauruses, you can play a pivotal role right now in your career. Maybe this is a big presentation you're giving or stepping into more responsibility, especially with Saturn still in Aquarius up in your 10th. So Tauruses are actually kind of finishing up some work responsibilities, and they're probably feeling a little bit stressed about it, actually. But, with the Leo full moon, it's making you realize how maybe you've gotten out of balance, though, where you put too much energy into the career and you got to avoid burnout that way. So if I was a Taurus rising or a Taurus, I would use this Leo full moon to really think about, is my career path allowing me to nurture myself? Is it giving me time to nurture myself at home still? Or is it throwing things off balance? Now, Uranus is in the middle in your 1st house. So this is a time, and it's been a time like this for a while, but like especially on this Leo full moon, to think about, is my career validating my authenticity? Is it encouraging my authenticity? So for some Tauruses, this could actually be a moment where you rebel against the expectations of your current career trajectory, or you rebel against a certain family member who's saying you need to keep doing this career. And so there's a little bit of a crossroads for Tauruses here of like, I want to go in a new direction. I want to incorporate technology into my life differently, maybe. Venus in Pisces is in your 11th as well. So I do think that you can bounce these ideas off of other people. Okay. So you can really rely on your friendships at this point to give you the inspiration you need to think about this in a new way. And you have the North Node still in your 1st. So for Tauruses, you're still embodying authenticity. You're embodying this image of Uranus as being the awakener and being that person that goes against the grain. So I think the Leo full moon is high stakes for you. It's about, how do I fit in? How does the new me, how do I rationalize my career in my home life, in my family life, in relation to the new me? That's the question for you at that time. Now, the Pisces new moon, February 19th, is in your 11th house for, again, vast majority of Tauruses and Taurus risings. So, you know, the Pisces new moon in the 11th, the birth here of a new community, the dissolving of boundaries between you and your friends, trusting, sacrificing, devoting more time to your communities, serving others, inspiring groups. And, you know, I don't think this is out of step with the idea of social media. Maybe you're sending out ripple effects of inspiration to larger communities if you are a social media creator. But generally speaking, you're putting your trust into friends in a way that you usually don't, actually. So it's like maybe you're going on a retreat, going on a spiritual journey with a group of people. And there's a Venus-Neptune conjunction on the Pisces new moon, which is both healing and deceptive for some. So for Tauruses, pay attention to the people, give you know, people's attention when they're telling you things that are very abstract. So this is a time to talk about synchronicities with people, to talk about repeating numbers, to talk about, you know, meditation. And if someone sees something in your aura, or somebody sees something in you that is not a conversation you usually entertain around these things, just allow them to see your aura, allow them to give you this insight. But at the same time, there may be certain friends in the 11th house who are trying to deceive you. So it's kind of a tricky balance between, again, allowing enlightenment in through these communities, but really sticking with, you know, keeping a grounded mindset of like kind of using your instincts and knowing, be able to separate from these people are trying to help me or these people are trying to con me, like keeping those things separate. And we also do have Uranus square Mercury. And this is actually a continuation to me of early February, where maybe there's a sudden insight around what is that career that I really want to do? Or even with Mercury, it's like, what is the day-to-day tasks? What are the day-to-day tasks that I really would rather be doing in my career? So again, connect all this back with your friend groups and your communities and allow them to give you the epiphanies that you need to put you on the better career track. Now we do have Gemini to cover. So let's go into Gemini for February, the Leo full moon. You know, this Leo full moon is primarily in your 3rd house, and Aquarius sun at that time is in your 9th, and then Uranus is really T-squaring this between in the 12th house. That's a very abstract full moon. So what are we talking about when we talk about a Leo full moon? That is an illumination of something of passion and creativity and heart-centered energy. But between the 3rd and the 9th, this is an illumination of your learning journey in the 3rd house. And maybe the completion of a certain learning journey, the passing of a certain test, or realizing that you have a passion for a certain topic area that you maybe haven't embarked on yet, and wanting to start going in that direction. And with Uranus T-squaring all of this in the 12th, you know, I've talked about this in a few monthly forecasts for Gemini rising, but I keep seeing this theme of spiritual awakenings. And Gemini does rationalize things, of course, and naysays and negates sometimes the intuitive brain, because Gemini is opposite Sag, right? And Gemini is more of the left brain analytics. Sag is more the intuition. So Geminis have a tendency to invalidate more complicated emotions or spiritual sensations because they stay grounded in the facts. But these energies right now, with Uranus in the 12th and Uranus T-squaring the sun and moon, that Leo full moon, it's like you do have to surrender a little bit of your analytical judgment and actually just put your faith into the epiphanies and downloads you're getting, and pay attention to synchronicities. It's okay to trust those synchronicities. And I know some Gemini risings who continue to refuse to really investigate these things. And I can see that it's limiting them. So don't limit yourself here. And if you find that this investigation goes nowhere and the synchronicity turns out to be somewhat of a, you know, false path, then whatever, but at least entertain it, right? At least entertain it. And so a lot of Gemini risings and Geminis will use this Leo full moon to more passionately pursue sort of the abstract, spiritual, and esoteric subjects. And again, to trust in those epiphanies. And then Venus and Pisces, alongside all of this, a lot of Gemini risings and Geminis, you may actually be getting along pretty well with executives and authority figures in your life, and you may incorporate your artistic and creative side into your career more thoroughly. Now let's go to the Pisces new moon, February 19th. That features that Venus Neptune conjunction in your 10th house. So if you're a Gemini and you're in a creative career, then this is really nice. This is actually the expansion of new creative ideas, and you can incorporate them into your career somehow. And so allow yourself to expand the mind, expand the perspective, channel that source energy, and emanate that through your public persona and your public life. It's almost like people can look to you at this time for inspiration. The only downside to Venus Neptune conjunction in the 10th is that, there may be slightly deceptive partnerships with executives and authority figures. So it's almost like maybe you believe and put blind faith into an authority figure who is actually trying to con you. So really make sure that you are securing like really stable trust with these authority figures around this time. But overall, this is about broadcasting more spiritual, creative, compassionate emotions out through your career. You're projecting that through your career. So maybe you're even with the 10th house about your appearance to the public, maybe you're appearing more beautiful, you're appearing more fashionable, you're appearing more creative. So take advantage of this. And then we do have a Uranus Mercury square, which is that, again, alongside this, you're accelerating your awareness of these synchronicities, of these mystical sort of topics. You have to embrace that. So the best thing you can do as a Gemini is to allow this flood of knowledge to continue to come in, and that will somehow feed your creativity that you're emanating from your 10th house in your career. So, and you do have Mars still in your first house, so you're able to take chances on things. So just be that sort of enterprising, entrepreneurial, competitive person, but, do so in a way that's inspiring to others. So let's go to Cancer. Cancer has the Leo full moon here in the second house. So this is activating the second house for you, but also the 11th house and the 8th house. So the Leo full moon in the second house is an illumination of your values. It's an illumination of your values, but in Leo, it's like, what am I really passionate about? And the connection between the second house and Leo is that you want to take your natural talents, which is your second house, and express them creatively. So for Cancer risings and Cancers, you want to do a full audit of your natural talents. Maybe write out a bio of your life, a 3-paragraph bio. What's the connecting thread through all the things I've done? That will show you what your natural talents are. What is the common denominator through all my success stories? And hook into those values more clearly on the Leo full moon and be able to express them. And maybe even realize a more creative way to make money, a creative way to monetize something in your life. So maybe you find that there's a way to have fun while making money, basically. So really investigate your creative hobbies and start to put more value into that. And with Uranus T-squaring the sun and moon between the 2nd and 8th, maybe it's coming through social media. Maybe social media is giving you financial opportunities. Maybe new technology, there's a way to use technology to make more money. And it's all connected to your 8th house, which is joint assets and maybe your own business. Now, I think that Uranus in the 11th for Cancers and Cancer risings here, this 11th house aspect with Uranus, like keep cherishing that, keep cherishing that, because there's a lot of communities you can step into, a lot of friendships you can make through social media, a lot of networking you can do. The only thing to mention there as an aside, you still have Mars in your 12th, so sleep continues to be a bit of an issue. So really regulate your sleep cycle, make sure your circadian rhythms are on point so you can take advantage of all these transits. But in general, for Cancers, that Leo full moon is a highlighting of, okay, have I fallen off the path? Am I still really making use of my creative gifts? Am I still nurturing those? And how are my values aligned with my financial goals? Am I trying to make money doing something I hate? You really want to be setting yourself on a financial path to success, while also kind of a win-win situation where you're doing what you love and you're monetizing it. Now, the Pisces new moon is kind of in your 9th house, but for some, again, if you use Placidus, would be in your 10th house. But the Pisces new moon, it's at 1 degree of Pisces. So it's basically in your 9th house, actually. So the Pisces new moon is highlighting your ninth house, February 19th. And at that time, Venus is conjunct Neptune. So the ninth house there, it feels like there's a trip you're taking. So Cancer is maybe taking a trip in middle to late February in which you're devoting yourself to somebody. You're sacrificing, you're stepping into a more compassionate relationship. Or in the ninth house, about in that trip, maybe closer to the water in some way, and that water is spiritualizing you. But other Cancers may be learning about something at a higher educational level related to art, creativity, or your worldview may just become more spiritual at this time. So I think the biggest highlight of that is just that Venus-Neptune conjunction in the ninth. So if I were a Cancer, it's really about how can my travels, right? How can I get out of my box? How can I see the world from a bigger perspective and a better vista? And sometimes that requires you to travel or just, escape through a film or a book that takes you to another place. But that Venus-Neptune conjunction is like, okay, I understand like what I want to devote my life to or who I want to devote my life to through this trip. And, there's a way in which you're even, again, there's a learning process there. Maybe you're learning about different spiritual modalities at that time. And then Uranus is squaring Mercury between the 11th and 8th house, which feels like very sudden breakthroughs in your subconscious and your fears. So maybe you're able to achieve a breakthrough at this time of like, oh, this compassion and this spirituality helps me break through certain traumas or certain blockages that I've had for a long time in my subconscious. So pay attention to that, or it could be conversations with people about finances and money. Could also happen. Let's go into Leo though. So Leos, well, you're experiencing the Leo full moon February 5th in your first house, and Uranus is up in the 10th and squaring the moon, or squaring the sun as well. It's T-squaring sun and moon. Now this is we're going into another fixed sign. So the fixed signs here, which would include Leo, are experiencing a lot on this Leo full moon. So this is activating your chart angles, your angular houses. So the Leo full moon in the first is illuminating yourself. It's activating and accenting your own personal emotions, but maybe even what you want to release about yourself, what you want to part ways with. And with the sun in the 7th, maybe you're parting ways with a relationship, or maybe you're building a relationship, or maybe you're letting your emotions take the wheel in a positive way where you're able to be vulnerable with someone, because the moon is very soft and it's our vulnerabilities in a lot of ways, our comfort zone, our inside internal world. And so you're bringing that to the surface, and maybe that gets you closer to somebody. But at the same time, with Uranus T-squaring, there could be an impasse where you feel like shaking up your career with Uranus, or you feel like embarking on a new path in life, and you're seeing how that affects your responsibilities in your relationship and the tenability of your relationship. So some Leo risings and Leos may shift focus towards these electrifying, exciting career paths to the consternation of their relationship or their partner. Because I think Leo risings are still, and Leos generally, are still at a crossroads in their relationships. So you really just know that you still have this pressure from Saturn all the way till March 7th. So as long as Saturn's in Aquarius in your 7th house, you're still facing this kind of weight of responsibility in your relationships. But this Leo full moon is basically you finally confessing your emotions to your partner. So maybe you're saying, I actually feel like you do give me space to be vulnerable, and this is the relationship for me. Or you say, actually, I feel like you're holding me back and we need to part ways. Allow yourself to have these emotional conversations, and even if they're difficult, it could be a breakthrough for you. But also, it could be just that a partner that you're with or a significant relationship that you're in could allow you to see your career from a new light. Now, sometimes I get complaints from people who are Leo risings and Leos saying, well, I'm not in a relationship, so I need you to like kind of talk about other things. The mistake you're making when you make those comments is that I'm actually talking about all types of relationships. So it's platonic, professional, and romantic. So just because you're not in a romantic relationship doesn't mean this doesn't apply. As long as you are connecting with anybody on a significant level, your 7th house is activated here and implicated. So what I'm saying is maybe it's not a romantic partner, maybe it's a significant friend who says, I think we need to part ways, or a significant friend who says, I think you should chase this other career path, and validating your position on that. At the same time, you do have, Venus and Pisces in your 8th house. So you are focusing as well on assets and joint resources. So maybe you're arguing with someone over this T square here is over joint resources and assets and who owes what monetarily. So let's go into the Pisces new moon, February 19th, though. The Pisces new moon is in your 8th house. And there's a Venus-Neptune conjunction there. And, Mars is starting to square that energy a little bit, but I think the bigger point is that the Pisces new moon in the 8th is always a time for Leos to start a new financial journey, talk about joint resources and possessions, and, really get a fresh start in their financial life. So for some Leo risings, maybe you're thinking more clearly about a business plan, formation of like an LLC. But with Venus conjunct Neptune, there's two possibilities there. Either you're unlocking a lot in your subconscious through spirituality and compassion, and you're surrendering your walls, you're letting your walls come down to connect with somebody. Or there is somebody here who's financially deceiving you. So if you're a Leo, really pay attention to the financial commitments you make around this Pisces new moon, because it kind of gives me the energy of someone saying, oh, I think you really need a palm reading right now. And they catch you in a very desperate situation. Like, and no knock against palm readers. That's just an example so that you can understand what I mean. So it's almost like, and it could just be like a financial type of scheme there. So really like cross your T's and dot your I's with the financial commitments you're making. At the same time, Uranus is squaring Mercury. Mercury's in the 7th house at this point. So you're really communicating with a lot of your significant significant friends, significant partners. And squaring Mercury, it's like you're gaining a lot of ground over, again, what does a more innovative career look like for me? What does a more authentic career look like for me? And you can have a lot of conversations lately because Mars is in your 11th house. So keep, expanding and maybe that's a refuge for you, because if you're in a tough partnership right now and as a Leo, use that Mars in the 11th to have conversations, to network with more people. Use that Jupiter in the 9th to travel, get higher perspective, learn more, and incorporate that back into, okay, now I see that my relationships are either stale or they are aiding my growth. So now we get into Virgo. Let's talk about Virgo risings. So February, you have the Leo full moon in your in your 12th house. So you have the Leo full moon in your 12th house, which is spiritual. It's also about visions and dreams and past lives and your connection with the divine. So for Virgo risings, the Leo full moon is really activating your 12th house, 6th house, and 9th house. Now the full moon in the 12th, it is like very much vivifying your dream life, your spiritual life, and it's illuminating really what is your connection to the cosmos, what is your sense of spirituality, and with the 6th house being activated as well, it's like maybe you're learning about how spirituality can nourish your day-to-day life, and how it can nourish your health. So how does mindfulness, right? What am I passionate about, and spiritually and maybe creatively, and how can that mindfulness help me be more alert and be more active and be more, just functional in my day-to-day? So you're incorporating the divine into your everyday, but squaring Uranus, maybe there is something you're actually learning about there that's spiritual, and you're really accelerating your perspective on things about sort of holistic health. So how does mind, body, soul all need to be nourished, and what are some life hacks to nourish those more clearly? I think this is very much a learning stage for you with that Leo full moon in early February, which honestly can be a very subtle thing. It doesn't have to be, this might not be like the flashiest full moon for you, and I think that's okay, but it could be very electrifying at the same time, where it's maybe a trip that you're taking. Uranus in the 9th can give you a sudden access to a new country, a new destination, and you're going there and you're getting a better sense of like, what is the mind, how do I balance out the mindfulness with the bodily health and all these things. you still have Mars in your 10th. So I can see how still Virgos are putting a lot of energy into their career. But I do think that there may be access now to new wisdom, new knowledge. Now, I think the bigger trend here is the Pisces new moon, February 19th. So the Pisces new moon is in your 7th house. So Virgos, maybe starting a new relationship in late February. And again, this could be platonic, professional, or romantic. Doesn't have to be romantic, but it possibly is. And that energy is highlighting where Saturn will be in March. So eventually Saturn will go into Pisces very soon. And for Virgos, that's testing the quality of your relationships, but it's also begging you to stabilize and form really long-lasting relationships. So a lot of Virgos are feeling the energy of commitment at this time. You're feeling like you really want to commit to somebody, starting in the spring, especially. So this Pisces new moon could be the meeting of that person, could be the genesis of that relationship. And there's a Neptune Venus conjunction, and Venus is exalted there, and Neptune's in its domicile. So that relationship could be a soulmate. It's like very high stakes, actually. It's like either a soulmate or it's a deceiver. And it could go either way. It really depends on your specific birth chart. But I really see Virgos willing finally to sacrifice themselves for somebody and devote their heart to somebody, give their heart to somebody in a way that they haven't before. Because I know Virgos, you've been working way too hard. You've been working way too hard with the Saturn in the 6th, Mars in the 10th. The Pisces new moon is giving you an outlet to suddenly spiritualize your relationship life and find this soul connection. So I think that's pretty exciting. Let's get into Libras. Let's take a quick break there. But Leo full moon for Libras. The Leo full moon is in your 11th house. So the Leo full moon is in your 11th house of groups and communities. So Aquarius, the sun in Aquarius still falls in the 5th, and Uranus is in the 8th. So for Libras, the full moon in the 11th is an illumination of your sort of some kind of manifestation journey in your groups, communities, your social media life, your networking opportunities. So for Libra, you may be bringing that 5th house where the Aquarius new moon was. You may be bringing that 5th house creativity or that art into the 11th house. Maybe you're putting on an art show. Maybe you're releasing a song online. Maybe you're networking with people who share similar passions. And with Uranus T-squaring in the 8th, it's like your subconscious is being brought into those dynamics. So maybe there is a creative project that connects you to your subconscious, or maybe there's a networking event where, there's an interest in psychology, or maybe you're encountering your shadow side through a certain friend or a certain community event. But generally speaking, I do think Libras, you've had Saturn in your 5th house for so long that you have been mastering a certain art form. You've been trying to manifest creative works. With the Leo full moon in the 11th, this is your chance to really put that creativity out there. Now, if you're not a creative person, I would still try to use the Saturn in the 5th to manifest something creative, honestly. But you do have Jupiter in your 7th right now, so relationships are theoretically a little bit easier for you than usual, because they're opportunistic and you're meeting more people from different countries and cultures who are expanding your mind. But Uranus in the 8th, maybe that's a sudden change in your joint assets and investments and resources vis-a-vis this creative project that you're releasing. But again, no matter who you are, you should think about this as like a creative time. And I actually kind of feel like this is part of the programming of modernity, but sometimes people will say, I'm not a creative person. I don't really buy that. There's not creative people. I think everybody is creative, because if you think about it, when you're a child, how that you have some type of interest in either putting Legos together or make-believing certain stories with certain figures, action figures that you have. It's like you have that in you. You just maybe lost it because you bought into the sort of structured world that we supposedly live in, which actually isn't that structured. It's like, you want to leverage more of the heart energy, and Leo is about the heart. So enjoy yourself, be creative, bring out your inner joy, whatever that is, and bring that into those communities. Now the Pisces new moon, February 19th, Venus is conjunct Neptune in your 6th house of your daily rituals, daily routines, daily responsibilities, health regimens. The Pisces new moon is the genesis of a new routine or a new responsibility or a new outlook on your health or a new approach to your day-to-day. But with that Venus Neptune conjunction, watch out for, allow a really spiritual relationship to form through your coworker, like through your coworkers. Like you may form a relationship with a coworker that's just like very interesting and inspiring. Allow yourself to be inspired by your coworkers, allow yourself to be inspired by your day-to-day routines. So incorporating the divine into the everyday, and think about how spirituality can be used in your daily life as a mode of healing. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think that this is the flashiest new moon for you. You might not even really notice it at times. This is why you should follow me. I'm a very honest astrologer. I don't really sugarcoat things, and I don't hype you up if it's not happening. I don't necessarily think the Pisces new moon is a big deal for you. What might be a bigger deal, though, is the Uranus square Mercury between your 5th house and your 8th house. I mean, maybe that's like a creative idea. Again, a creative idea that suddenly comes to you through like an epiphany. So again, for Libras, February is a month of really two things. Taking advantage of that Jupiter in the 7th to expand your relationships, allow more people from different perspectives and different cultures and different vantage points to enter your life to expand your awareness, and keep using Saturn in your 5th to manifest a new creative version of yourself. And Saturn in the 5th is one of the easiest transits for Saturn. So like your Saturn, and Saturn's about to go in your 6th house, which is a lot tougher. That's about, really ironing out your daily routine. And sometimes you got to be in the trenches during that time. So embrace Saturn in the 5th, the final months of that, because that's going to give you this ability to structure your creative life. And again, there is no such thing as a non-creative person. There's actually no such thing as a non-psychic, in my opinion. I think, again, when we are children, we have these connections and these gifts to the ether that are just kind of shut out by society. So keep channeling your creativity at this time. Now we're going to go into Scorpio. Scorpio, sun, moon, rising. So the Leo full moon is in your 10th house. So the Leo full moon is in your 10th house of career. Now that's a big deal, because the 10th house is your career, your responsibilities, your path, your public persona. So the full moon, anytime the full moon's in the 10th, we're talking about maybe shedding a certain career. Maybe some Scorpios are shifting careers, or maybe you're bringing your emotions or your creativity with Leo, your creativity out more in a career context. You're talking about things that are, making people feel more at home with the moon. But the sun's in your 4th, which is shining a light on your home and your home life. And with Saturn there, it's like you're committing more solidly to a home life, or you want to. But then Uranus in the 7th, T-squaring all of this. There's a partnership there that's either electrifying or destabilizing. So it's like maybe you're being pulled in a couple different directions by your significant relationships, where somebody is saying, I want to go here, I want to move here, or I want to do this for my career, or I think you should do this for your career. And so you're balancing all these things. You're juggling all this momentum between your career, your home, and your significant relationships. But with Uranus in the 7th, like that's the great awakener. So there are relationships there that are shaking up your value systems, shaking up what you want to do for your career in a cool way. And with Saturn, though, you may face commitments down in the 4th about where to live. And then Uranus is opening. It doesn't have to conflict per se. Uranus in the 7th, this may be the birth of more enlightening and refreshing friendships and significant relationships. It's like maybe you're meeting people from different communities, or you're building communities, and somehow you're incorporating that into your career by allowing you to be more creative in your career. So for Scorpios, network in the beginning of February, allow people with different ideas into your space, but also think about, am I aligned Are my values aligned with the relationship I have, with the career I have? And don't throw any of this off balance, because this is the idea here of like your work-life balance needs to be, it has to be balanced. And, you know, with Uranus there in the middle, it's like, I could see how it might feel a little frenetic, but, you know, just allow that to be an influx of new perspectives. Now, also, again, the full moon in the 10th, maybe you're offloading a certain career. Would not be shocked if a lot of Scorpios change careers at this time, or it shines a light and they just finish a big project in their job. Now we have a Pisces new moon, February 19th. The Pisces new moon is in your fifth. The fifth house with the Pisces energy is very creative, very compassionate. So on the Pisces new moon for Scorpios, this is a time to birth new creative projects, to get back into something creative. And with the Venus-Neptune conjunction, there may be a date, because fifth house is dates and romance. Maybe there's a date you're going on with somebody where it feels like there's an instant soulmate connection, actually. That could be super interesting. But at the same time, there may be a date where you really fall for somebody in a way that's like not healthy, or it's like a toxic attachment. So if you're a Scorpio and you're single, maybe late February brings you a really enlightening date, but also a deceptive one. So be cautious of that. But also Uranus and Mercury are squaring each other between the 4th and the 7th. So for Scorpios at the end of February, you may be searching for a new apartment or a new home, or you may with a partner or with a friend. And with Uranus square Mercury, you're maybe just searching online a lot for a lot of different properties, or maybe you're having a conversation with somebody over, suddenly you change where you want to live. But Mercury in the 4th could just be electrifying, interesting conversations in the home with family members. So let's go into Sag. Let's go to Sag. So Sagittarius, you have the Leo full moon in your 9th house. The full moon in the 9th, in February 5th. February 5th, we have a Leo full moon in the 9th. So for Sag risings and Sages in general, the Leo full moon in the 9th is an illumination of your perspective, your worldview, what you want to learn more about, where you want to travel. And Leo is passion. So Sag is maybe booking a trip to somewhere that they feel passionate about. Opposite the 3rd house, though, with Aquarius, and then the 6th house with Taurus, where Uranus is. Uranus is in a T-square with the sun and moon. This may just be for you a learning journey, a new learning journey, which is something the other mutable signs are going through at this time. So maybe you're realizing what you need to learn more about to complete the puzzle in the 9th, to you know, really have that overarching perspective, which is what the 9th house is. And you're getting there through alternative processes with Uranus in the 6th. Maybe you're shaking up your work routine to get there. Maybe you're shaking up your view of sort of how you, of your well-being. So there's like very much a wellness focus here. So Uranus in the 6th could be like, okay, how do I want to think about the health of my mind, body, and soul differently? How do I want to learn more about spirituality? And, you know, I've talked about this for Sagittarius for a while, but I still think this applies. Uranus in the 6th, maybe you're thinking about how to incorporate technology into your work a little bit differently. And how does that allow you to learn things faster? Maybe just in your work. It doesn't have to be about spirituality. But pay attention to your interactions with coworkers, because with Uranus T-squaring that sun and moon in the 6th, maybe there's a coworker who gives you a sudden brilliant idea about how to synthesize different things and responsibilities in your career, or how to incorporate something spiritual into what you're doing day in and day out. Or maybe you're working with new people and you suddenly get assigned a new project. That could actually happen. Maybe you get assigned a new project and you have to travel for it. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens for some Sagittarius. And then, you know, the Pisces new moon, you know, this is in your 4th house. So the Pisces new moon could be the birth of a new home project. Maybe you're moving. Maybe this is a compassionate discussion with a family member. But the Venus-Neptune conjunction in the 4th, this may be a creative time for you in your home. Maybe you're traveling to somewhere by the water to spiritualize. Maybe you want to move. You realize you want to move closer to the water. And you may just entertain guests at your home for like some type of meditation, ceremony, or, I could see you entertaining guests at your home, and it could be like just a very creative experience over something creative or spiritual. But for many of you, the fourth house is very internal. So for many of you, you might just feel like you want to go on this new spiritual journey by finding a certain person, finding a certain partner. And honestly, maybe you find that soulmate through this home, this entertainment in the home, where you invite people over and you meet somebody. It's very special. And Jupiter's in your fifth, so keep in mind that dates generally are positive for you right now. And Mars in the seventh means you're having a lot of conversations with your significant partners, just any significant kind of friends or partners in your life. And finally, Uranus is Uranus is squaring your Mercury placement from the second house, from the third house, really in the whole sign system, from the third house and the sixth house. So again, we're getting this idea of like learning things very rapidly, or writing things down really rapidly. Even that could be kind of interesting. So let's go into Capricorn. So Leo full moon is February 5th, and Leo is in your 8th house. So that is highlighting the 8th house, the 2nd house, and the 5th house, really. So, the Leo full moon is always an illumination of our passions, our heart-centered energy. And in the 8th house, that's the sudden realization of maybe what you want to create, what kind of financial success you want to create, how you want to transform with somebody. Now, some Capricorns, I talked about this in my 2023 forecast, some Capricorns may realize they want to have a family. Because Leo is children, 8th house creation, and Uranus in the 5th, there's like a sudden difference in what you want to create. Now, not everybody is going to feel this, but I do think that some Caps, especially Cap risings, will feel like they want to have a family all of a sudden. It might be very surprising. They might shift their perspective. And I really think, even based on the Capricorn risings I think this is underway already. So don't be surprised if you have a new sort of type of creative path that you want to go down. But for some people, this is actually just creative, more in an artistic sense. And now for others, even, this could be about a unique way to monetize your creativity, or an alternative way to kind of jumpstart and leapfrog your financial goals and get further than you even thought you could. But Leo in the 8th, to me, just feels very passionate. Feels very passionate and creative, and it's coming out of the subconscious. But with that Uranus T-square, it's like suddenly you realize, oh wow, maybe I actually do want a family. Now let's jump into the Pisces new moon, February 19th. We have Venus conjunct Neptune in your 3rd house, and the Pisces new moon is in the 3rd house of learning, day-to-day sort of tasks and things like that. Neighbors. I think this could be the beginning of a new learning process for you, and a conversation, with the 3rd house being conversations. You may be having a conversation with somebody that's very compassionate and devotional and romantic even, and you're maybe you're reaching out. Okay, so this is a download I just got. So Capricorn, especially Capricorn risings, maybe you're reaching out to somebody again, who you may be cut out of your life, and you're reaching out again to either forgive them or open up dialogue again. I think a lot of Cap risers are going to forgive somebody through a conversation. And I do think that, honestly, maybe that is your new moon. It doesn't have to be flashy. Not every lunar cycle has to be flashy. I actually think that Leo full moon is going to be a little bit more impactful for you. But at the same time, we do have Uranus square Mercury between the 5th and 2nd, which is more about just new leaps in awareness around how to monetize things. So we're going to get into Aquarius rising and Aquariuses generally. So this is a big one. Leo full moon in your 7th house. Uranus T-squaring in the 4th. So Leo full moon in the 7th. This is a time to either offload a relationship that you no longer need or no longer are passionate about, to begin a relationship, or to incorporate your passions into your relationship more thoroughly. So Leo full moon in the 7th with the sun in the 1st and Uranus in the 4th. This may be even like a rapid development of a relationship where it's like all of a sudden you want to move in with them. Or maybe suddenly you don't want to move in with them. You want to just change that trajectory. But definitely this is shining a light on your connectedness with people on a one-on-one basis in the 7th, your ability to bring your emotions into your relationships. So Aquariuses are going to be bringing their heart-centered energy into the 7th house. I would imagine a lot of Aquariuses are saying, I love you at this time. And whether or not it actually works out, it doesn't really matter. You just want to say it to somebody. You're probably going to say it. And it's coming from a place of restlessness, though, with Uranus in the 4th. So on the one hand, it could actually be the breakthrough that you needed, where you've been too cautious for a long time and now you're ready to say it. But I'm not going to lie. For some of you, it actually might just be out of impatience. You just want it to happen. You want it to happen now, and you say it that way. So really think about your motives for bringing that romance and passion and flame into the relationship. But that's a big deal overall. Like your relationships are gonna look a little different after this time. And think about the fact that the Aquarius new moon in January, which I've already talked about in another video, featured a Saturn-Venus conjunction, which was either the beginning or the end of a relationship. So if you started a relationship as an Aquarius in early February, or sorry, in late January, then you're saying maybe how great you feel about them in confessing your romantic desire for them on the Leo full moon. So now you have a Pisces new moon in your 2nd house on February 19th. Now, the new moon in the 2nd is a new financial goal or a new perspective on your values and value systems. And with Pisces, usually it's about valuing spirituality more, valuing creativity more. And there's a Venus-Neptune conjunction, so you also value connections. You value creativity, you value spirituality, and you value a soulmate connection. You're looking for that soulmate connection. The Venus-Neptune conjunction in the 2nd, the only downside may be a financially deceptive situation. So cross your T's and dot your I's with financial situations. Now, you do have Mars in the 5th, which is very creative right now. You do have Jupiter in the 3rd, which is very expansive in the learning areas of life. I don't know if the Pisces new moon is as big of a deal as the Leo full moon. It kind of is in the shadows of that Leo full moon. So I'm not going to belabor this one. I think you're still working through your relationships at this point because you still have Saturn and Aquarius until March. And that Saturn-Venus conjunction like really started or ended a relationship. So now you're still navigating that. And maybe you're thinking about, what do I value in a partner? Maybe that's the Venus-Neptune conjunction in the 2nd. But let's finish this off with Pisces. Pisces. Leo full moon is the Leo full moon. Where is it? It's in your 6th house. So the Leo full moon is in your 6th house, squaring a 3rd house Uranus and a 12th house. It's opposing a 12th house sun. So the Leo full moon, I mean, it is and it isn't a big deal for you. I mean, it's illuminating your 6th house. So it's kind of like, what ignites my inner flame? What day-to-day responsibilities am I really passionate about? It's going to illuminate that for you. Or maybe you're seeing through a certain work project. Maybe you're developing a new process that incorporates your creative gifts more naturally. So it's like, I want to work on this instead of this. You're asking your boss to be put on a different project that makes use of your creative gifts. But also it could be with that, Pisces, look, I mean, you're getting your mojo back here because Saturn is finally starting to leave your 12th house. It's not quite out of there yet, but Pisces, especially Pisces risings, you're bringing some passion back. I mean, I may have to retract my earlier statement. I think this could be a big deal for you. You're imbuing your day-to-day with some more passion and zest that you've lost for so long. Saturn in the 12th sucks. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I hated my Saturn in the 12th. I wish it affected my entire life, really, and not in a great way. So Saturn in the 12th is like you're parting ways with structures, you're losing foundations, you're losing authority figures. And the Leo full moon in the 6th now is like, okay, maybe I'm ready to like get back out there. I'm out of my solitude. I'm going to bring myself back in to the 9 to 5, but with a little bit of heart energy as well, helping people and, and all that. And Uranus in the 3rd is like, I'm accelerating my knowledge too. I'm writing a lot of stuff and I'm, even like somehow factoring in, like my day-to-day supports these new writing projects I'm doing or this new learning journey I'm on. So now we have a Pisces new moon, Pisces in your first house, new moon in the first. This is the beginning of a new you, an announcement about yourself, a new identity that's being formed. But with the Venus and Neptune conjunction in your first, this could be the birth of a new partnership. This could be the birth of a new creative project. This could be you inspiring massive groups of people. I don't know, maybe some Pisces are suddenly stepping into their spiritual business. They're launching a spiritual business, or they're getting on social media and just inspiring more people. Maybe they see all of a sudden there's a path to fame. I don't know. But it's like really that Venus-Neptune conjunction is attracting soulmate energy, attracting compassionate people into your life, and allowing you to project out these creative gifts in a way that send out ripple effects and inspire vast groups of people. So Uranus is squaring Mercury at that time, which is allowing you, again, to keep bringing in sudden downloads, spiritually speaking, and bring those out into your creative life. So I think I've baked that fairly well and concisely. So what I'm going to do now is talk about the summary of February. So thank you, first of all, for watching those clips. But in terms of February, really what I'm seeing here is we are still in a precursor to Pluto and Aquarius. And so what we're doing here is that Leo full moon is really destabilizing what you thought you wanted, and it's showing you what your heart really wants, because Uranus is the unexpected. So it's like unexpectedly all of a sudden, oh, I do love this person, or I do want this in my life. I do want to go this direction. So beginning of February is very empowering, actually, as long as you don't resist change. Late February is a lot of soulmate energy. So some people may be surrendering their walls, bringing their walls down to merge with somebody and feel connected to somebody, or connected to the cosmos, the collective, or bringing out their creative side in a more inspirational way. But really just follow Uranus to make the most of this month of February. I just think Uranus is really active at this time because it squared Venus around the Aquarius new moon pretty much, and now it's squaring the sun and moon, and that T-square is pretty much exact. So really look to Uranus to get you out of detached situations, because Aquarius is very detached and Leo is very heart-centered. So Uranus in the middle is saying, chase what your heart desires. I think that's actually the greatest way to summarize this month. Chase what your heart desires. So thank you so much. I'm Evan Nathaniel Grimm. Really recommend that you get a reading from me. I talk about you and only you for an hour. There's a lot of ground I can cover. You see how much ground I covered in an hour in a global forecast. I could cover even more just looking at your chart. And again, I'm hosting a retreat in Croatia. So if you want to hang out with me for a week and travel, explore Europe, also register for that. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me or send me a direct message. So thank you very much. Take care.